Welcome to VGK Today, a daily podcast providing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Tuesday, May 13th, as the VGK are looking for adjustments to their game after a 3-0 loss to the Edmonton Oilers in Game 4 of the second round on Monday, a loss that gives the Oilers a 3-1 series lead and puts the Knights on the brink of elimination. While Vegas once again kept the dynamic duo of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl at bay, the Oilers' depth came through, as Adam Henrique struck twice in the opening frame for a quick 2-goal lead before Evander Kane broke through in the second period for the third and final goal of the game. The Knights just couldn't generate enough offensively to keep up, and while the animosity definitely went up a few notches in Game 4, even had a fight between Nick Hague and Trent Frederick, it didn't give Vegas the spark that they needed to get into the fight. A tough pill to swallow for Vegas and many different angles to approach Game 4 from, so after the break, we'll welcome D'Uva and Gary Lawless to recap Monday's action. Well, Golden Knights fans, the official VGK mobile app is the easiest way to keep up with the team. Plus, fans with the app will have the chance to win tickets to select playoff games. Download it today before Game 5 for Apple or Android. Also want to remind you that you can experience the excitement of playoff hockey firsthand with a limited number of tickets available for Game 5 at the Fortress. Visit VegasGoldenKnights.com to learn more.
In Edmonton, the Golden Knights insider Gary Lawless with us, and we reconvene, Gary, for the first time since we signed off on the radio. Very different conversation now than the one we had a couple nights ago. There was all the buzz about Reilly Smith scoring with 1 second to go. As dramatic as that was, this was pretty much the opposite.
Yeah, I walked back from the rink to the hotel with Tanner Pearson, and I said, "Well, you've been here before," and he said, "Yeah, but we only have to win 3 games in a row this time." He's referring to when he was with the LA Kings and they were down 3-0 to the San Jose Sharks, and then won 4 in a row on their way to winning the Stanley Cup. So. Vegas still has life, and they're heading home. They do face elimination. It's 3-1 in the series, but Game 5 is in Vegas on Wednesday. And Bruce Cassidy, he said 2 things in his post-game presser. One, he echoed what you and I said on the radio. He said the last couple of games, we had made steps forward, gotten better. He goes, this was a step back. And then I said, what has to be different in Game 5? He said, we need a better start. Simple as that. And then he said, a lot of that is on the head coach, or having the players ready is on the head coach, so I'll take my share of the responsibility. He said, but we have a veteran group, guys that have been here before. They knew Edmonton was going to be better. So Vegas didn't have any answers for the Oilers tonight. This was all Edmonton. Give them full credit. They came into this game with a plan. They stuck to it. They executed. 3 goals, 2 goals in the first, 1 in the second, and cruise control the rest of the way.
Yeah, this was not just disheartening because it's a loss. When you thought you had built something, taken a step forward in Game 3, it's sort of the way that they lost. I mean, the Knights hadn't been shut out in the playoffs in 4 years. It had only happened 5 times ever. And they didn't test Stuart Skinner, who's a goalie 0-3, pulled in favor of Pickard. Pickard had been injured earlier in the series. And if anything, you want to at least generate some threats. They had 3 first-period power plays and totaled 2 shots, and neither of them were particularly close.
Yeah, but Bruce said they were stubborn on the power play, not, there were some opportunities, some things there where they could have taken advantage of, and they didn't. They kind of stuck to some other routines that had worked for them previously. But that's 2 games in a row that they haven't scored a power play goal, and it's been a big story for them. The Golden Knights, I believe their even strength goal differential is -11. It was -10 going into Game 3. They got 2 even strength goals in Game 3. That got it to -8, and then 3 even strength goals against tonight. They're at -11, and this is a team that, has run the NHL at 5-on-5 since it got in the league. So that's an area of concern. And, Dorofiev's quiet, Hurdle's quiet, Barbashev is quiet. Everyone was quiet tonight. Obviously, they got shut out, but Edmonton is getting. Once again, Vegas has this vaunted depth. Edmonton's depth is winning this series. McDavid and Draisaitl have a combined 3 goals so far through 4 games. So it's not the big guns that are doing it. It's some guys down the lineup. No, Adam Henrique has never won a Stanley Cup. Vander Kane doesn't have a Stanley Cup. These guys are going to be hungry. That's the way it works. And the other part for Edmonton, and this before this series even started, Connor McDavid, minutes after they knocked LA out, he was asked about the next series, and he said, "We owe Vegas a good series. We don't forget what happened 2 years ago." And I'll tell you what I've told you this many times. I thought round 2 in 22-23 was the Stanley Cup final. If Vegas won, they went on to win the Stanley Cup. If Edmonton had won that series, Edmonton would have beat Dallas. Edmonton would have beat Florida. They would have won a Stanley Cup. So lots on the line right now for the Oilers in terms of what they're trying to achieve. Connor McDavid, been in the league for over 10 years, doesn't have a cup. Same with Draisaitl. These are guys that you would think are destined to win a Stanley Cup, and they will smell the next round in Game 5. The Golden Knights, they're going to be way better than they were in Game 5 than they were tonight, and I expect Edmonton is going to try and be better. Now, that sounds like a little doom and gloom. Win Game 5, and everything changes. Yeah.
And remember that the Oilers started this postseason down 2-0 against LA. They won 4 in a row. The series they played prior to that, Stanley Cup final, they were down 3-0 against Florida. They won 3 in a row to force Game 7, though they ultimately did lose. In other words, they've seen it on both sides. The lessons learned from having put a team up against the wall and then also being your back up against the wall. All those games, these guys you just mentioned, Gary, have played 80-plus playoff games and were a win away from winning the Stanley Cup. And believe me, it's not lost on me that the Golden Knights players, a lot of guys who did win the Stanley Cup, but it seems every time Edmonton is facing adversity, they've got an answer for it. Now it's time for the Golden Knights to show that side.
Yeah, perfectly said. That's exact. And Vegas did in the first series, right? They were down 2-1 to Minnesota, stormed back and won 4 in a row, right? 3 in a row. And now they're in that same situation here. They need to They need to storm back. It's as simple as that. They need to win 3 games in a row against the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know how often the Oilers have lost 3 in a row. Not very often. They did lose 3 in a row to Florida in the Stanley Cup final last year, so it can happen.
Well, thank you to Dan and Gary for joining us to help recap Game 4. And as they said, it is time now for the Knights to channel some of their Round 1 play and find the urgency that they need to dig themselves out of this 3-1 hole and try and win the series. Let's now get some reaction from around the VGK locker room, and we will start with head coach Bruce Cassidy. You heard Gary mention some of Bruce's comments earlier, but let's now get Bruce's full answer to that question as a part of his entire post-game availability.
From the first period on, just what Edmonton's defense seemed a little suffocating. What did you see from your vantage point?
Well, they got an early lead, and they've been here before. You got to manage the game if you do that. They did a good job with it. We had some looks, but we were kind of one and done. Not a lot of second chances, second effort plays for us. Needed to do a better job getting through the neutral zone, breaking them down if we were going to get some looks off the rush. And like I said, at times we got a few, not enough. But we put ourselves behind the 8 ball again. Early in the game with some similar plays below the goal line, we lost board battle and below the goal line battles, and they got it to the front of the net. Something we'd done a good job with the last 2 games, eliminating offense from there. And the first one, our low forward didn't hold his position, right? And could have put out a fire there. And then the second one, they won a battle in front, found a way to get it in. So from there, it was an uphill battle. We weren't able to, obviously, as just said, create enough offense. Power play let us down the first period. Could have got us back in the game, certainly, but didn't execute well enough.
Bruce, both Jack and Reilly mentioned that it just didn't feel like the forecheck was a five-man unit. Obviously, you want to stay above their speed. What are the challenges of being aggressive on the forecheck while not getting beat on the way back?
Well, you got to be probably in sync with your shift length, right? You don't want to be in between. Puck placement's important in the forecheck, having everybody up, so your D can be part of that. A successful forecheck, yeah, it's your first guy. Obviously, if he's able to hound and make a mistake, that's what they did on their first goal. But in general, even their third goal, our D came into the middle of the ice. Probably not. You want to squeeze those plays off on the walls more than the middle. McDavid makes a play, and it wasn't nearly effective enough to create offense for us. Going back to the previous question, when you have a lead, that's probably how you got to get back in the game. You're going to have to get some forecheck turnovers. If you're on the power play, which we addressed that, we were on the power play 3 times. Great opportunity to sort of, cut the margin, give ourselves some life. But in those 2 areas, we didn't, not much offense, not enough.
They were kind of all over Hill at the beginning of the game there. Just how did you see all of those different scrums, and how do you think your guys handled it?
Listen, I think I don't know if they called one or not. They went into him a number of times. That's a conversation we'll have. We got to protect the area. He pushed back. He showed some emotion to protect his area, and that's part of playoff hockey. But I would say the second goal, that they just got there, and we need to win that battle to neutralize their player to get that chance, right? So whether they go there or not, we've got to be stiff in there, right? And that's part of our team identity, and give them credit for getting inside there. And whether there was more calls or 8 calls, that's something we'll look at, but I leave that up to the officials. We just got to make sure we take care of business there. Be a little stiffer, not allow them to at least get sticks on pucks, and then see what happens from there.
You have Game 5 at home now. What do you want to see differently from your group?
Well, we have to start better, Gary. I mean, this is a couple games in a row now. We're chasing it, and we knew they'd come out better. We're a veteran group. It's on the coach to prepare the players, so I take my share of the responsibility. But it's also a veteran group. They got to know that, listen, this team's going to be hungry. They're at home again. They come off a loss, so make sure we're on our toes. And I don't think there was enough players on their toes ready to go. So that'll be step 1 in Game 5. Make sure we push the envelope early and get to our game quicker. Because we had been progressively, I thought, building our game, and today we took a step back.
Bruce, you mentioned they had the early goal. After that, though, about 10 minutes, it was very physical, both teams. Lots of chances, and you guys had a breakaway and odd man rush. You look at that emotion of the first period, and your team seemed to match it. But after that, the game kind of calmed down. What did you see the difference maybe? Is it just too hard to maintain that intensity for both teams?
I think so. I think if you ask the players and they can't finish every check for 60 straight minutes, I think that's different. And everyone's wound up early. So there's hit, there's a counter hit, whatever. There's a push, there's a push back, there's a scrum, everyone's involved. I mean, that's playoff hockey. So we're okay with that, but we needed to score a goal to get sort of, as I said, you're right, there was a breakaway opportunity for us. There was a couple power plays to sort of, get the momentum back towards us, give us some life, some juice. We weren't able to do that. But the physical part, not that surprised. And I'm not surprised it calmed down because they don't want to be in the box all game either. They took 3 minors in the first, so that's a sure way to get a team back in the game. So they established physicality. They got the lead. That's probably was their goal. And then from there, check well. And they did. They checked well. No easy passages through the neutral zone. It was all going to have to be play behind them or win your one-on-one race or battle somewhere. We did here and there, but not enough. So give them credit. They played the right way to win the game. They didn't get in the box, I don't think, after the first period. So there was no easy chances, no easy offense for us. Usually it's odd man rushes, penalties, right? You can get yourself back in the game. And we had a couple odd man rushes, but nothing, wasn't one after the other. We were going to have to do it the hard way. It was going to be nothing easy, and that's playing winning hockey for them. So good on them for, but they've been there. They were right there last year, so they know what it takes. We just have to be better to push through offensively.
Power play, you already mentioned it a little bit, but it definitely slowed down in this building. Where is it not clicking? Like, what's going on?
Power play?
Yeah.
Well, we moved it around well, and we have possession. We're just not taking the shot that's available. I think in our building, we ran some weak side plays, and we got some goals from it. So they're making that play a little more difficult. But the elbow shots are there. Jack run went off the crossbar. And those are the shots we have to take to break them down. I think Pav took a couple, but we missed some opportunities from there. If you can get that shot, get them scrambling, maybe off their feet, then the other plays open up. So a little bit of one and done in that situation too. So I thought we got a little stubborn with what was available to us. And they were able to get clears and recover pucks. Again, that's races, right? And they were better than us in the first period, races and battles. And that was, including their penalty kill against our power play.
Well, Bruce and his staff will be hard at work looking for adjustments heading into Game 5, and the players will be looking to improve their game as well. Let's hear from a couple of them now as Jack Eichel and Reilly Smith spoke to the media after the loss.
Is there a biggest area that you pinpoint that you feel is lacking?
Urgency, probably. I mean, I think that they came out in the first, obviously, had a hard push, and I'd give us credit. I thought we stood up to them, and a lot of credit to Keegs and Hager, and it was you get behind, and we obviously weren't able to solve the goaltender, so we just got to be cleaner on our breakouts and just better execution. I think it's it's do or die now.
Reilly mentioned that maybe the timing and of the forecheck, it was just tough to get the puck back. What do you think was the biggest issue on that?
Well, their goalie touched a lot of pucks on the breakout, right? So, I think we're good when we're forechecking as a 5-man unit and everyone's up the ice. We were probably a little bit passive at times and allowed them to break the puck out a little too easily. So the sustained pressure in their end wasn't as good as it should be, and that's something that we need to correct.
Was there anything defensively that you thought they were better at today than maybe the first couple games?
Desperation. Obviously, they blocked a lot of shots, and I don't think we got to the inside enough. So, obviously the power play wasn't a factor. We need to be better on that, and it's I think we know we need to be better, right? So, you look towards Game 5 and what we can do to change things and win a hockey game.
It sounds like, between you and Reilly, it sounds like a lot of these things are still correctable. Is that still some sort of positive that you can draw on, even though you said do or die?
Well, I think we did some good things in 2 and 3, right? So I thought that was closer to the game that we want to play. Tonight, I think we got a little too spread out, transition. I don't know if we supported the puck well enough, and I think that just allowed them to break the puck out easily, and we were probably a little bit passive and didn't put them on their heels enough. So I think it's just we need to be more aggressive offensively and try and force them to make mistakes on their breakout and get pucks back, and then make plays when we have opportunities and get pucks to the net. So it's got to be better, and we'll look towards Game 5 and what we did tonight and what we can be better, and that's sort of it. You just go home and you're at home, Game 5, you win a game and go from there. That's really all that matters at this point.
In terms of being passive, is that their speed kind of making you hesitant to go up the ice?
Well, listen, you obviously want to get over their guys when they're transitioning the puck and try and take some of their speed away. They have a good rush game, and part of it is, you want to get above some of their speed, and but at the same time, I don't think that should be holding us back. I think when we're up and it's a 5-man unit forechecking and getting pucks back in their end, I think it's effective. So I think just collectively as a group, it needs to be better and just cleaner and more urgency.
You feel made it tough to generate the first 2 periods, especially?
They were getting to pucks faster than we were. I don't think we dictated the pace of the game, and that's something we'll have to fix next game.
What did you make of just the physicality and all the extracurriculars in the first period?
It's to be expected. they're trying to create extra juice after losing a game, and that's what they did. I think, we answered, but we have to play with a little bit more pace and urgency in our game.
Was there anywhere specifically defensively that you thought they were better tonight than the first few games?
Not necessarily. I think we didn't create enough pace with our offensive game. I think we were not as fast as we needed to be through the offensive zone and the neutral zone. So we have to, control our own destiny and play to win games. It seemed like we didn't have the same urgency that they had.
Did you feel like you guys weren't shooting enough? I guess is the simplest way I'd put it.
We didn't have a lot of shots. I'd have to look at it again. I think we didn't play as cohesive as we probably needed to. I felt like, we were dumping the puck and not having all three guys forecheck and coming through the neutral zone and having someone change. And we just didn't have the same unity with our group. So we didn't give ourselves enough chances to create rushes and then sustain offensive zone because of that.
So just fair to say you thought more neutral zone and back than actually once you got the offense.
Yeah, I think they just weren't playing together enough.
They were taking away passing lanes too. Do you think that was part of it also? It seemed like they were taking away, when you got set up into the offensive zone, it seemed like they took away the middle.
I think they've been doing that the whole series. They come back and they try to clog up the middle. So they'll give you the outside for a little bit. We can do a better job just executing, and I think a lot of that is you play faster and those lanes open up.
3 straight wins is kind of what sits in front of you now. What's the confidence level in this room that you guys can get it done?
I mean, we did it last series, so we have a lot of faith in this group, and just take it one at a time.
One game at a time. That's the approach for the Golden Knights heading into Game 5, and though it's a tough spot, the objective is clear. Win out the rest of the series to keep your season alive. It won't be easy, but it'll be necessary if the Knights look to take another trip to the Western Conference Final and beyond this spring. That'll just about wrap things up for today's show. Thank you as always for tuning into VGK Today, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform, as we'll be back every day throughout the Knights' 2025 Stanley Cup playoff run. Stay tuned tomorrow as Ashley Weiss and Darren Pang join the program. Justin Russo signing off for VGK Today.